All right, good evening, folks. Welcome to Monday Night Law here in Kirk's Law Corner, September 9th, 2024, 9/9. Hope everybody had a good week, good weekend, good times. Lots of fires around the northwest over here. We're just covered in smoke still. Letting her burn. Burn, burn, burn. What a sad situation our lands are in. Good to see everybody here. Tiger, Diesel D's. A lot of crazy stuff going on out there. I caught a little bit of Trump's alleged sentencing got moved to after the elections. In my mind, again, all this stuff is just a show anyways. This stuff comes to an end here after the elections. At least the best that I can tell. Trump's been, at his rallies and stuff, he's laying stuff out. He's telling you what's going on, what's going to happen when he comes back. And again, one of the biggest ones is mass deportation. So it's going to be quite interesting what actually happens here over the next couple months, and then after Trump comes back in and this stuff, just the major takedown. And I want to remind people, Executive Order 13818, blocking the property of those involved in serious human rights abuse and corruption, has been extended again and again and again and again. So what does that tell us? That's that state of emergency to deal with serious human rights abuse and corruption. This is a military operation. That's what an executive order is the commander-in-chief ordering the military to execute the law. It's not to be used to make law like some former presidents have done. Trump did no such thing. So that's what's coming here in this nation called America. It's already been happening worldwide, and there has been quite a bit of stuff that's already happened here in America, but a lot of people are not aware of what's been actually happening, and it's very, very surprising that there's not more people aware of what's really going on. I mean, you look at some of these actors that are playing these people, like Biden and Kamala Harris and Fauci and all these other people in those higher positions of what we would consider of authority. You can't tell that those aren't the real people. I mean, it's at a point where they're making fun of these people. The actors are. To a point where how could you not tell that it's not real, that it's somebody acting, it's an actor. They're wearing masks or it's CGI. How do you not tell that? The only way you would not tell is if you actually didn't know what these people look like prior to, say, even 2016. Hey, Jax. Mark, how you doing, brother? Thank you, Rita. The presentation over there on the National Assembly on Thursday night, saying it was really good and finally understand remonstrance. Cool. Because there is a difference. Very, very, very much difference between a petition and a remonstrance. Right? Comment over here on Telegram reminds me of Saturday Night Live sometimes when I watch these actors in public. Absolutely. It's all satire. But there's some stuff that's going on right now, folks. Some weird stuff. These hundreds of little white unmarked vans with ladders on them. I still haven't quite figured out exactly what that's about, but there's a coincidence with some of these shootings as of late. There's weird stuff going on, blackouts, internet, total blackouts. And in my understanding was this is part of that blocking the internet, and even goes so far as shutting down the power. But internet blackouts for sure. And what I believe is going on is that military, U.S. Marshals, what have you, are going in and making arrests in these areas. So, nobody can transmit what's going on. You can't go live. You can't do anything. Again, I want to remind people this is a military operation pursuant to that Executive Order 13818. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the law, and that's what's going on. And people can say things to the contrary, but, it's happening. It has been happening, essentially, since 2017. December 20th, 2017. Ever since then, it's just been on the warpath worldwide. So, I always bring up how do you have a treaty of peace if we're not at war? You know how many treaties of peace that Trump in the Trump administration has done with these other nation states, countries? Lots. And again, the short version of that executive order is taking down corrupt governmental regimes, instituting new government, and holding elections, legitimate elections. And then once the new administration gets in, then they do the Treaty of Peace. That's just how that works. That's just kind of like a chronological order of things and how that works. And there's been numerous occasions where Trump seems to be the head of that new nation state. I was discussing that the other night with a couple people, and it's like, oh yeah, what about this? And what about that? Oh, that's right. And then this one over here, and talking about Saudi Arabia, England, and some other stuff out there. And somehow Trump ends up being in that high position of authority in that particular nation state. So, how is that possible if nothing is happening? If Executive Order 13818 isn't being executed, how is that happening? And then the other part is, why? Because they're involved in serious human rights abuse and corruption. So, I didn't know that one. The wooden wall and now a black metal fence blocking people from going to the wooden wall at the White House now. That's the thing is, there's a couple people out there that I haven't followed for a while there because I basically got it. I get it. It was Penguin 6 and that Nancy Drew used to go. I think they still do, roaming around Washington D.C. And as of late, it's all closed up, boarded up. It's a freaking ghost town. Now, this might be a little shocking to some people, but I think they're going to bomb the crap out of Washington, D.C. They're going to destroy it, along with a lot of other major satanic sites in the world, but quite a few here in America. You know, there's been that list out there. Well, a perfect example. Nancy Drew just posted about the wooden wall and the black metal fence blocking people from going to the wooden wall at the White House. So she's still actively engaged in Washington, D.C., which, technically speaking, it's not really Washington, D.C. anymore. It's just Washington. So, but, you know, there was a list floating around of all these different places that are basically known satanic spots that are that are alleged to be going to be destroyed. Now, the Georgia Guidestones was on that list before the Georgia Guidestones were destroyed. Interesting, isn't it? Said they're building a stage for the inauguration. Right. Yep. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take for people to wake up to what's really going on. James, you procured the 4-book set from William Blackstone's commentaries on the law from 1790. Yeah, yeah. Where he said it's a tough read, language change. Well, no, that's Old English where F's were used as a long S. The short S was a regular S, and thanks to Jax out here. Talking about these guys right here. So I've got the four volume set as well in hardback, and yeah, it has that same writing. It's in the old English, old style English, like here on the page I'm on. In these, you know, it has THEFE, and then Feveral, which is several. So FEVERAL instead of SEV. So it's Old English. So I've gotten used to it because some of the old stuff that I've dug up and read was written this way. It's quite interesting. When I first came across this, I'm like, what is this, a bunch of typos? And then I got to think, wait a minute, okay. Yeah, there's a difference. Why are they using F's for S's? Quite interesting. But yeah, that's true. That's just one of the little things that's in this old style English. But yeah. Very, very good to have these books. Especially where they like to change things on us. Throughout history, they like to rewrite some of these books and stuff when we see it online, and even in like PDF format to a certain extent, but mostly like websites and stuff that will host some of these writings and stuff. I have actually found where they leave out certain parts, or like what it is it's a revised version, and annotated. That's the other one that they'll add. It's like Blackstone's commentaries on the law of England, or pardon me, not Blackstone's, Joseph's story on the commentaries of the Constitution. They did a revised and annotated version of it, and they wiped out like 700 some pages. Oh yeah. Yeah, I went and found the original. Well, as close to as what I could tell is an original version in PDF. And yeah, they definitely changed some stuff in there. So, they want to deceive us. They want to pull the wool over our eyes. They want to be able to get away with what they're getting away with because they want to hide this stuff. But we are having a return to fundamental principles. And what I mean by that is, look at what the Supreme Court of the United States is citing, like in the New York State Rifle Pistol Association versus Bruin. That was June of 2022, when they went all the way back to Blackstone's commentaries on the law of England, and those three primary absolute rights, the first one being the right of personal security, which is what they actually cited. I mean, I went from the case, Blackstone's what they cited, went directly to that, went, well, I'll be darned, there it is. The right of self-defense is one of the 5 elements, 5 parts of the right of personal security. And they said, well, that comes from nature. Yeah, the laws of nature, or the law of nature. So, this is what I'm talking about, a return to fundamental principles. See, we've been subjected to this Roman civil law, the code, even as early as the 1850s. And I believe it was New York that started this crap. I know that Congress, under the Congressional Act of 1873, that Code of Civil Procedure Act was done. I know that in Idaho, that Code of Civil Procedure Act, which is the code, was 1881, before we had a constitution here, because Idaho didn't get started until 1864 with the Organic Act for the Territory of Idaho. And our alleged constitution wasn't done until 1889, after the Reconstruction Acts. And many of the states, in fact, all of the states, have had a new constitution after the Reconstruction Acts. So they've fundamentally altered our form of governments. They're subjecting us to a jurisdiction foreign to our form of government, unacknowledged by our law. And all these governors are given their assent to these pretended acts of legislation, the code. It's all code. None of it is a legitimate statute based on subject matter jurisdiction delegated pursuant to the Constitution itself, because that's how that's supposed to work. So that's what we've been subjected to. That what I was just talking about there is straight out of the Declaration of Independence, fundamentally altering our form of government, subjecting us to a jurisdiction foreign to our form of government, unacknowledged by our law. That Roman civil law is not supposed to be here. It's foreign law. But again, what I have found through history is this is not the first time we've been here. Over and over and over and over again. Just over and over. This frickin' Roman civil law, the code. You know, and it's all enforced. Bouvet's Law Dictionary, 1856. It's all enforced by bills of pains and penalties, or bills of attainder. Gee, I wonder why our founders put in the Constitution no bills of attainder. That's what we're talking about, or what they were talking about. This legislation that prescribes punishment. Hey, Destry. See you over here on Rumble. Holy smokes, you worked 74 hours this last week. Yeah, you need a vacation, brother. Come on down. We'll go for a ride. I know, starting to get a little chilly up in the mountains, though. When I went camping last week, we were down to like 30 degrees on Wednesday night. Got up Thursday morning and there was frost on everything. Friday morning or Thursday night, it still got down to like right around 32. We didn't have the frost in the morning like we did Thursday morning on Friday morning, but it was still downright cold. But we were up there around the 8,000 feet mark. That's right, I got you over here, Destry. YouTube doesn't like the truth being put out there. So, just a reminder for everybody, kirkslawcorner.com for links to my social media other than YouTube if YouTube goes down. In the end of all this is probably just going to be Rumble, right? And Telegram, unless they end up figuring out how to take Telegram down. But as far as I know, that's actually kind of in the works. They really want to shut down Telegram because there's no real limitations on Telegram. There's no. I mean, I have had certain videos come up missing. They just disappeared off my Telegram, which is weird. But other than that, I've not noticed any direct censoring. I mean, I guess that would be censoring, taking a video down without any notification or anything. It just kind of disappears off my channel. Especially that one where I was addressing the legislature back in 2022 there. Yeah. Brother Rob over here on Telegram just shared a link to the code of Connecticut in 1650, right? But that's Roman civil law, right? And that's 1650. That's before 1776, which probably, in my mind, is part of what led to the English Bill of Rights of 1689. The same crap over and over and over and over again, subjecting us to this Roman civil law. The code, as Blackstone lays out in his commentaries, is a fundamental law. But yet, we're supposed to have common law as the fundamental law. Not Roman civil law, not feudal law. So, that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the law. And again, in the imagine that. Drastically different from the fundamental orders of Connecticut of 1638. Right, that's when Connecticut first started getting going there. And then switched to the code. But that's all under under the crown at that particular time because these were all corporations with corporate charters, such as the Virginia Charter. The first charter of Virginia was 1606. These were all, the Virginia Company. These were all corporations, and if you people read those charters, it was all about really gathering the gold and the silver and the copper and all this stuff, and a certain percentage of it was sent back to the crown. Now, there was most definitely people that were fleeing from Great Britain, trying to escape the Roman Catholic Church and Catholicism. Yep. They were said governing. Yeah. So, again, this Roman civil law, the code, as a fundamental law, has been a problem all throughout history, even clear back to like 400 BC. So, it's all about the history and knowing this, and this is the Roman civil law, the code. It's from the Roman Catholic Church, right? And how that all with the church works under the Roman Empire, basically, which was supposed to have fallen like somewhere around 600 AD. So, but if I hadn't studied it and figured it out, wouldn't even realize what's actually happened, and then what we are being subjected to. Every single court case is about the code, whether it's called code in your state or not. I guarantee you it's there. Sometimes they'll call it the revised statutes, or code of statutes, or but it's all code. It's all Roman civil law. So they flat out call it the Idaho Code here. They don't even frickin' attempt to hide it. It's not it's not statutes at large. Yep. Yep, India, yeah, they call it revised statute. Revised by the bar. Because the bar is what actually came in and took over. So that's the truth, and I have put out several times now. I have showed the Code of Civil Procedure Act. I've showed Bouvet's Law Dictionary, the definition of bills of attainder under law, civil. I have read from Blackstone's commentaries on the law of England regarding the code, the Roman civil law, the code. So it's not yeah, wow. What do you think about that is an interesting question. about January 6ers over here on Telegram. Sarah Wall asks, what do I think about the January 6 prisoners? Are they really being held? Yes, the truth is they are. I actually have a woman, a personal friend, who is sitting in jail right now. She was convicted. As a January 6er, and all she did was just go into the building. She didn't do any damage or anything like that. So, is it part of the movie? No. They're trying to, this is the deep state fighting back. And I'll show you kind of attitude. So, yeah, it's really happening, and there are people in, and I don't know if it was technically speaking, if we would say it was a foreign territory of DC, and actually prisoners of war. That could be construed that way, because we are at war. Make no mistake. No ifs, ands, or buts. We're at war. This is what war looks like, folks. I know that the TV movies show us war as, a bunch of tanks and airplanes and ships and everybody shooting each other like that. It's a different kind of war. But some of that is still going on. Look at what's going on in Israel. Look at what's going on in Ukraine. That stuff is really happening. That's the deep state that's being taken down. Right? Only difference is less hardware in this war. Destry's comment out here on Rumble. So, it's not the same kind of war as what's shown on TV and movies, okay? I mean, there are certain aspects, again, that are happening that way. Israel and Ukraine. That is happening. But like I've explained before, with Ukraine is been dubbed as the world hub for human trafficking, men, women, and children for whatever purposes you can think of. Organ harvesting, slave labor, sex, satanic rituals, whatever you can think of, that's what they're using them for. And that all goes through the hub, through Ukraine. And again, you got things like arms deals, money laundering, banking cartel, drug cartel. It all kind of has run through Ukraine, which used to actually belong to Russia. That territory used to belong to Russia. So, I think this is one of those scenarios where that land's going to go back to Russia when this is all done. But, all these underground tunnels and deep underground military bases, or just bases, period. They call them military bases. Some of them are military, some of them aren't. But it's all has to do with trafficking. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on underground for hundreds of years. Right under our noses, so to speak. Under our feet. So, that is exactly what's been happening for several years now. And for those that remember me, clear back in 2018 there, talking about Trump ordering the military to start training for deep underground warfare. What? Why would Trump order the military to start training for deep underground warfare if there weren't anything underground to go to war about? And remember the two ships, the Comfort and the Mercy. And Trump flat out said it didn't have anything to do with COVID. They're not for that. Well, what the heck were they for? All those children that they were bringing up from underground. Okay? That's what the Comfort and the Mercy was all about. Now think about, how long ago was that? Yeah. And to think that nothing else has been happening or nothing's been happening? Come on. You know, like, what's his name out there? Derek Johnson. Law and order. That's right. Law and order. That is what's going on, folks. Those involved in serious human rights abuse and corruption worldwide have been in the middle of being taken down. And then, of course, you know, the executive order from 1984 that Trump dug up about the manual for courts martial and made amendments to the manual for courts martial. And that all came effective January 1st, 2019. That's when the shit started hitting the fan. Because any new crimes committed after January 1st, 2019, you're under the new military type stuff. Which is kind of what I discovered there was that back in 1984, what they did is they got rid of the execution for treason because they were setting up for that Agenda 21. And if they got caught, well, they couldn't be sentenced to death because they changed that in 1984. Well, Trump changed it back. So in my mind, that's when everybody started getting a little scared and a little worried. You know, there was a point in time right there, right just before January 1st of 2019, there was a mass exodus from corporations, CEOs, presidents, whatever, boards, all resigning right just before January 1st of 2019 because they didn't want to be continuing to commit those crimes that they were committing prior to January 1st, 2019, after January 1st, 2019, because they knew what was coming for them. Now, that doesn't, like it said in there, any crimes that were committed prior to January 1st, 2019 will be dealt with according to the law at the time. But anything after January 1st, 2019, you're done. It's a done deal, dude. So, you know, this is the stuff that's going on. Whether people are aware of this or not is irrelevant. And basically, since 2020 there, 2021, I just, you know, I know what's going on. I know it's happening. I've paid attention enough and seen enough evidence to convince me that this is what's really going on. So, I don't, you know, it doesn't matter to me whether you believe me or believe what's going on or what I'm talking about is actually happening. It really doesn't matter to me because I do know. And it's good. There's going to come a point in time where everybody's going to face this reality. The truth is going to be made known. There has been leaks of this kind of stuff, and not so much as leaks. I mean, there is leaks of it, but what I'm actually going to refer to here is what Trump talks about, that he was taking down the child pedophilia ring stuff. taking down the drug dealers. And he specifically stated, and I'm referring to the pharmaceutical industry. Okay? What better way to wake the people up than an alleged pandemic with a so-called, vaccine? So, it takes it takes a little while to wake people up. And what I mean by that is that people have to be affected to a certain degree, because the way things have been set up, right? If you're in that middle class, upper middle class, revenue wise, every annual whatever, however much money you make a year, you're in that class of citizens or class of people, and you make a sufficient enough money a year to pay all your bills, have your toys, and pay all your taxes like a good little slave. And they're just happy-go-lucky, everything's good for them, right? So they don't think that there's anything wrong because everything's working great for them. They just don't realize that they're being human trafficked through taxes and slave labor. Oh, well, I get paid. Yeah, right. I get it. But that's the whole trickery of it. And then, lower class and all that, the peons, they really get really get hammered. And I've had people say, well, just don't break the law. What law? Everybody believes that the code is the law, whatever so-called statutes or whatever it is that's all made. And nobody pays attention to bills of rights or the Constitution, not a whole lot. And you have these, upper echelon people who are good little slaves, taxpayers, who don't think that there's anything wrong, and they just look at you sideways when you tell them what happened to you, and they're like, oh, well, that can't be true, that can't be true. Yeah, it is true. These sham proceedings were no grand jury indictment, that the Fifth Amendment requires, that the common law requires, that we the people required, even before. That's the way it was supposed to have been. But again, that Roman civil law, the code, keeps, getting re-implemented. And this is my uncle and myself, we talk about this all the time, is this is Judge Dredd. I am the law. They do whatever the hell they want to do, and they are brainwashed and indoctrinated to believe what they're doing is legitimate. So this is the part where I go, well, we've all been lied to. We've all been dumbed down. We've all been brainwashed and indoctrinated to believe this crap, that this is just the way it is, the way it's supposed to be. And nobody reads for themselves, which is why I started studying for myself in 1995. Just plain and simple, I'm sitting there in the jail cell after I got screwed. Basically, oh yeah, well, we know that you proved that the cops didn't have probable cause to pull you over, but we don't have time to deal with that now, and well, here's a plea bargain. If you don't take the plea bargain, plead guilty, we'll go to trial. I'll make sure you lose. I'll make sure that you get the maximum time in the penitentiary if you don't just play along here. And of course, in 1995, I didn't know. I knew the difference between right and wrong. I knew what, right? Because I was just fresh out of the military, And yes, in the Marine Corps, they did teach us the Constitution. Okay? So it's not like I didn't know some stuff. So I knew what they were doing was wrong. I knew what they were doing was unlawful. And they're just so corrupt. So at that particular point is, when I'm sitting in the jail cell there, and I made that vow to God that I'd start studying law so that I wouldn't get screwed like that again. And again, I never thought that the start of that was going to turn into something like this, where I'd be sitting here doing live shows, trying to educate my fellow man, wake up my fellow man. I never saw myself as, sitting here doing this and speaking at rallies or, holding law seminars and that kind of stuff. I just wasn't me back in the day. I never saw myself as being out in the general public like that. But yet, here I am. And for those of you who remember Chris, who was my partner in this when we kind of started out doing lives, and actually I'd started doing lives on Facebook back in September of 2017, and then I invited Chris on. Then when we kicked off, it was Mondays and then Wednesdays and then Fridays, and then it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights, 3 nights a week for several years. And again, those of you that have been around long enough remember that. The good old Friday night fun night. Wednesday night initially started as a call-in show, and that I couldn't do it. Couldn't do the call-in stuff. But right. Oh, wow, that's an interesting one, Mark. That Trump said we need to end all these chips in cars. I would say too much control. Wouldn't that be a violation of the Fourth Amendment? The right of the people to be secure? The right of the people to be secure in their persons, papers, houses, and effects? Yeah. Well, to be honest, again, it's worldwide corruption. It isn't just your county. It's the same everywhere. But the comment is my county public servants told someone I know that they can't do anything about the corruption because he says, we're too big. They absolutely know they are corrupt in my county. Well, it's, again, it's worldwide corruption. But, yeah, that's the thing, is anybody who tries to do something, essentially, will get blackballed, or just come up missing, mysteriously die. But this is, in part, the reason why the military is having to do what it's having to do, because there's nobody on a local level that can handle the level of corruption, because they're all corrupt. I wouldn't say they are all corrupt. There's just the level of corruption is so big that, the handful of people that would potentially try to do something, public servants, they would just get blackballed or, disappeared. So the reality here is, all political power is inherent in the people. We have the right to alter, reform, or abolish anything at any time we deem it necessary. It takes the people. And like Destry said out here on Rumble, it's the people's choice if we want to win. We have the path to win. The people need to reassemble. Government de jure. We talk about government de facto, but after reading Spirit of Law by Montesquieu, what we actually have here is a despotic government. It's all willy-nilly. But what are we going to do about it? I mean, that's the ultimate question. What are we going to do? We could sit here and bitch and moan and complain about how corrupt things are. Or we can do something about it. I'm trying. I'm trying to do something about it, and have been for several years. But I'm just one man. We need the people to reassemble government de jure. We need the militia, which is every able-bodied male between the age of 18 to 64. Automatically in the militia, duty bound to defend. That has nothing to do with military, the organized militia, which is subordinate to the civil power. We, the people, that's why the Second Amendment reads, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Because the militia is composed of the body of the people themselves. The well-regulated militia that the first part of the Second Amendment refers to, the well-regulated militia is the organized militia, which is the military. I'm not supposed to have a police force. No standing armies, no armed bodies of men. A what? A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. And we're not even saying the word right, pronouncing the word right, is policy. Not police. That's policy. Sound it out. It's a 3-syllable word. Hooked on phonics here. P-O-L-I-C-E. Policy. Policy. That's exactly what our founders were talking about back then, and them standing armies. Enforcing bills of attainder, bills of pains and penalties. Now, this whole defund the police thing, and it sure sounds like that what I'm saying, right? It's not defund, it's abolish. They don't belong here. Oh, well, who do we call when we have somebody trying to break into our house? Oh. Well, the truth is, well, you call the coroner or the sheriff. You call the sheriff for the ones that got away and the coroner for the ones that didn't. That's the truth. That's fact of law. That's reality. We defend ourselves. Dial 357. Oh. Yeah, the thing is okay, yeah, somebody trying to break into your house, you're calling another man with a gun to come save you. Why not just defend yourself? Right there on the spot. No need to wait. No need to even make a phone call till after everything's settled. Back in the day, somebody came onto your land, it was state your name and state your business. Right from the get-go. They didn't know who you were. You weren't invited on the land. It was state your name and state your business. And if they weren't interested in what you were selling, or they didn't have a lawfully obtained warrant to be there, that's called trespassing. So they just flat out would tell them to leave. Or they'd shoot them. It's even on the books right now. They have 4 seconds to make movement towards leaving your property after you inform them that you want them to leave. 4 seconds to make movement. Like stepping backwards, stepping off of your porch. Otherwise, that starts constituting a trespass, criminal trespass. And again, back in the day, they just shoot people. You're trespassing, you were told to leave. You're there with ill intentions, you don't have clean hands. Right? That was another thing too, was sometimes they would fire a warning shot over the top of the head or off to the side. Better get going, because the next shot is going to be dead on target. Some people might think that that's cruel. That's defending what's mine. Whether it's my land, whether it's my house, home, my cars, wherever I'm at any time, anywhere. My family, my neighbor, my fellow man. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well, again, knowing our rights. Destry talks about most people have no knowledge of the castle doctrine. Well, castle doctrine is legislation. Let's just go back to the fundamental principles of the law of nature, the right of self-defense. That's that part of right of life. To defend what may be harmful. But yeah, every man is the king of his own castle. That's that alleged castle doctrine. So, again, that's in that New York State Rifle Pistol Association versus Bruin. What did they go back to? The law of nature, citing from Blackstone. That fundamental right of self-defense. And that's everywhere. At least here in America, we're supposed to be having the law of nature as a fundamental law, part of the common law, the fundamental law, fundamentally and principally. Before government. Government was instituted to secure those rights from infringement. not to infringe them, not to have subject matter jurisdiction to regulate our rights, because they're no longer rights if they're being regulated, they're privileges. See the 14th Amendment. It doesn't say anything about rights, it says privileges and immunities. But how many people have actually read the 14th Amendment? I hate saying 14th Amendments, but let's take a look at that sucker and read that, right? So I'm not sure how many people have actually read that. Privileges and immunities, due process, equal protection, apportionment of representatives, Civil War disqualification, and debt. 1868, huh? Where is it? Bridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Laws. I guess it's actually in the 13th. Yeah, I guess maybe it is. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime, wherever the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article. Wait a minute. Where's the part about shall have same as white people? Huh. I swore under the 14th it talked about having the same rights as the white people. Did I miss it? Huh. Weird. But this was originally supposed to be for the recently freed Negro slaves, is who this was really for. But again, I've done a little bit of research on this and seen some of the congressional hearings and stuff like that. Talked about this person. This is for corporations. So I swear it talked about having the same privileges as white people. And I thought it was in the 14th, but I guess not. But it's funny how, like, where it talks about here, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Well, that's funny because that sure sounds like Why is it changing that one? Nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Wait, that's the Fifth Amendment, not the 14th. So, what is the 14th talking about? So, the thing is these are not actually amendments. These are articles, or supposed to be in the original, prior to the fraudulent so-called 13th Amendment, starting with that one. Right there in 1865. Okay. From there, because there's the original Article the 13th, which basically provided the remedy or the relief for anyone who had actually taken a title of nobility, ceased to be a citizen of the United States, and cannot hold any office of public trust. That was based off of the no title of nobility clause in Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8. And I have seen the documentation to prove the fact that it was ratified in 1819. So it was actually done, in my mind, by roughly around 1814. It's just the reporting of it back to the president wasn't done till 1819. So, but this is in part what happened with that War of 1812, was trying to destroy the records of the fact that the original Article the 13th was ratified, which means none of them esquires could hold office. But see, that puts the kibosh on the crown using their members of the bar to infiltrate our republic, our form of government, and converting us back under the monarchy. So, that's just the truth of the history. That's factual. And they just couldn't have that. Right? Because, again, think about it. Then they couldn't put their guys in. They couldn't get their esquires in there to start altering the law. Because at that particular point in time, even though some will say, well, we didn't actually win the Revolutionary War. Yes and no. We have the right to declare, right, alter, reform, or abolish anything and any time we deem it necessary. That's in the law of nations. It's up to the people. We have this right. We have this power. So just because they used force and violence against us doesn't make it okay. Doesn't make it lawful. So all of this, from this so-called 13th Amendment, all the way down, all of this is all void for any effect. Plain and simple. But I want to remind people that that Trump talked about going back to 1776. Now, what was in 1776? Yep, Mark out here on YouTube says he saw a pocket state constitutions that had that organic 13th article in them. Absolutely. I have documentation proving that it was ratified by a certain amount of states and was published for many years, clear up into 1854, 1856. And there was something major going on there, and I haven't been able to put my finger on it. But something around 1845 to 1856, something was going on there. And there's not a whole lot that I have found. I'll be honest, I haven't done a whole lot of digging around on that particular area. But, you know, what, talking about going back to 1776. What were the Constitution in 1776? Because this so-called Constitution was done when? This is 1787, ratified supposedly by 9 states in 1789. I'm talking about 1776. So let's go over here to avalon.law.yale.edu and let's look at the 18th century. What was going on in the 18th century? Here's the documents, at least what they have. Okay? What was the Constitution in 1776? Well, let's just do a Control F find, and let's just put in 1776. Whoa. Look at all these constitutions in 1776. (1777) Constitution of Delaware, Constitution of Georgia, February 5th, 1777, Constitution of Maryland, November 11th, 1776, Constitution of New Hampshire, January 5th, 1776, Constitution of New Jersey, July 2nd, 1776, Constitution of New York, April 20th, 1777, Constitution of North Carolina, December 18th, 1776, Constitution of Pennsylvania, September 28th, 1776, Constitution of South Carolina, March 26, 1776. So the December 18th one wasn't good enough. They had to do, oh no, that's North Carolina, and this one's South, there it is. March, and this was March 19th of 1778, so 2 years later, almost to the day, South Carolina made a second one. See, Constitution of the United States, 1787. We're talking 1776 era. Constitution of Vermont, July 8th of 1777. Constitution of Vermont, July 4th, 1786. What is this? The Constitution of Virginia, June 29th, 1776. That's the one. Because, lo and behold, and I'd have to dig that up and pull it up to prove it, which I can, is the fact that some of these territories were actually within the territory of Virginia, or I should say colonies. Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. There's the Draft Constitution, Virginia, June 1776. Now, this is the one in the draft that shows that Virginia wanted to abolish slavery right from the get-go. Now, here's the Lee's resolution, June 7th, 1776. Now, you look at the dates. Most people are familiar with the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776. But when you look at the Lee's resolutions, resolution introduced in the Continental Congress by Richard Henry Lee, Virginia, proposing a Declaration of Independence, June 7th, 1776, resolved that these United Colonies are and have right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, that it is expedient forthwith to take the most effectual measures for forming foreign alliances, that a plan of confederation. Oh, you mean a Confederate Republic? Be prepared and transmitted to the respective colonies for their consideration and approbation. Now remember, this is where? In the Continental Congress. Continent. The continent. The entire landmass of North America, which in essence actually included Canada, by the way. It's in the Arrows Confederation. So, June 7th, 1776. Then we go to that Virginia Declaration of Rights. Oh, did I lose my... I bet I did. About that preamble and resolution of the Virginia Convention. I actually have not read that one yet. I think maybe, you know what I'll do? I'll go like this. Should be right here. Virginia Declaration of Rights, June 12th, 1776. And then the Virginia Constitution, June 29th, 1776. And then the Declaration of Independence. Now this is why I keep referring back to Virginia being the place of origin of our republic. Even the being in Philadelphia, so-called Pennsylvania, which was in the territory of Virginia at the time. So, again, this is the history, the truth, the facts. Interesting, Brother Rob. Connecticut is nickname of the Constitution state because the fundamental orders were adopted by the Connecticut Colony Council on January 24th, 1639. Some consider it the first written constitution in the Western tradition. Well, that's interesting because the Ordinance of Virginia of 1621 is the ordinance for creating government. Remember the Mayflower Compact? A lot of people don't know about the Mayflower here. Where did it go? There it is. November 11th, 1620. Okay. And Mayflower Compact's all this. Oh, yeah, that's when things really blah, 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 blah. Okay. Did you read it? We whose names are underwritten, the loyal subjects of our dread sovereign Lord King James, by the grace of God, Great Britain, France, Ireland, King, defender of the faith, having undertaken the glory of God, advancement of the Christian faith, and honor of our King and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia. To plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia. Wouldn't Virginia have to exist first in order to start the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia? Huh. Do by these presents solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and one another covenant and combine ourselves together into a civil body politic. Would that be the people? Right straight out of the law of nations. It's almost like they knew the law back then. For our better ordering and preservation and furtherance of the ends aforesaid, and by virtue hereof do enact, constitute, and frame such just and equal laws, ordinances, acts, constitutions, and officers from time to time as shall be thought most meet and convenient for the general good of the colony, unto which we promise all due submission and obedience. That's pretty much it for the Mayflower Compact. Pretty short and sweet, huh? Now, what was the next document? Oh, wouldn't that be this document right here? Ordinances for Virginia, July 24th through August 3rd of 1621. That's your ordinances or constitution. Oh, what does it say? An ordinance and constitution of the Treasurer, Council, and Company in England for a Council of State and General Assembly. This is the first document in history creating our General Assembly. To all people to whom these presents shall come, be seen or heard, the Treasurer, Council, Company of Adventurers and Planters for the City of London, for the first colony of Virginia, send greeting. Well, what about Jamestown, Virginia? Weird. Again, we're talking 1621 here. What happened between 1606 and 1621? First Charter of Virginia was 1606. The second Charter of Virginia was 1609. The third Charter of Virginia was 1611. 1611. Huh. So how is it that Virginia isn't the place to start? Let's see. Company taken into our careful consideration the present state of the said colony of Virginia, state of being, and intending by the divine assistance to settle such a form of government there, as may be the greatest benefit and comfort of the people, and whereby all injustice, grievances, and oppression may be prevented and kept of as much as possible from the said colony, have thought fit to make our entrance by ordering and establishing such supreme councils as may not only be assisting to the governor for the time being in the administration of justice and the executing of other duties to this office belonging, governor, but also by their vigilant care and prudence may provide as well for a remedy of all inconveniences, growing from time to time, as also for advancing of increased strength, stability, and prosperity of the said colony. So, this would be the first one in history. 1621. Yeah, I see your comment, Rob, but I'm showing you 1621 is how many years before 1639? And how could Connecticut be dubbed as the Constitution state when this is the Constitution right here? An ordinance and Constitution. 1621. That's, 18 years before 1639. 18 years before. First in, first in time, first in line. It is what it is. And it goes, I mean, there you go. There's your articles. We therefore, the said Treasurer Council Company, by authority directed us from His Majesty under the Great Seal upon mature deliberation, do hereby order and decree that from henceforth there shall be 2 Supreme Councils in Virginia for the better government of said colony aforesaid. So you have all this stuff that's being created here. And namely, the other council, more generally to be called by the governor once yearly and no oftener, but for very extraordinary and important occasions shall consist for the present the said council of state and of 2 burgesses out of every town, 100 or other particular plantation to be respectively chosen by the inhabitants, which council shall be called the General Assembly. What we call now the General Assembly is the House, which includes the Senate and the House of Representatives. This has never left our form of government. But this is history right here in the making. When this happened, this was the original setup, creating the General Assembly, which what we call the legislative branch now. It's still called the General Assembly, which is why our right to peaceably assemble, that's part of what this is. Right, Destry? I think it would be awesome to create a compendium of all the foundational documents starting with 1621 pertaining to assembly. Yeah. Well, let me see. Let me dig that. Let me see if I can find real quick where I put them. Is it in the history or is it in law books? going to be in... Oh, you sucker. Maybe it's in here. Man, I really need to get these reorganized again. Where the heck is it? Yeah, no, it's not in there either. Well, it must be in the law books. Here's the story, documents illustrative, formation of the Union. Frickin' 7 volumes of this damn thing. Oh, there it is. The federal and states. Let's start with... Well, we'll start with the very first one just to show real quick what I'm talking about. Okay, so here is the very first volume out of 7 volumes. Like this volume has 683 pages. And it's called The Federal and State Constitutions, Colonial Charters, and Other Organic Laws of the States, Territories, and Colonies, now or hereto forming the United States of America. When we get down here to looking at Virginia, you'll see that chronological order of things. Virginia, grantor Sir Walter Raleigh, 1584. First Charter of Virginia, 1606. Second Charter of Virginia, 1609. The Third Charter of Virginia, 1611-12. Ordinances for Virginia, 1621. Declaration of Rights by Virginia, 1776. Constitution of Virginia, 1776. And you got the Constitution of Virginia, 1830, 1850, 1864, 1870, 1902. Now, notice that that is actually in there. Ordinances for Virginia, 1621. It's under Virginia. But, let's see. An act of Congress for the admission of Vermont into the Union, 1791. Believe that's going to be where Virginia ceded the land to Vermont. Texas, Tennessee. Louisiana, Missouri, Wisconsin. Back, see, look at South Dakota. What is that? Oh, Virginia. Clear back to 1609, 1612. Ordinances for Virginia, 1621. Then you get the Proprietary Charter of Carolina, 1663. Proprietary Proposal, 1663. Fundamental Constitutions of Carolina, 1669. South Carolina. 1584. Then the Virginia stuff. Then Charter of Carolina, 1663. So South Dakota was out of Carolina, which was out of Virginia. Rhode Island, out of Virginia. 1606. Council for New England, 1620. 1842 for its constitution. Plans of Union, how about that? New England Confederation, that was in 1643. The Albany Plan, 1754, and Arms Confederation, 1777. And then the Constitution of the United States, 1787. That's that Confederate Republic. Even clear back to 1643. That ought to be actually a good read. Page 77 of, I wonder which volume that one's going to be under. So, history is a funny thing. And reading means reading. There's an awful lot of history here to go through and comprehend and then understand. Read. Must read. But, to see the bigger picture, I mean, even New York was under the Charter of Virginia, 1606, and then the Council for New England in 1620, the Dutch West India Company's patent, 1621, the Charter of Massachusetts Bay, 1629, Charter of Connecticut, 1662. Speaking of which, go check out that Connecticut. It's going to be on the very, very beginning there. Here, Idaho, Convention with Great Britain in 1818, Convention with Russia 1824, Treaty with Great Britain 1846, Territorial Government of Oregon 1848, Territorial Government Washington 1853, Temporary Government Idaho 1863, Temporary Government 1864, an Act for Admission of Idaho 1890, Constitution of Idaho 1889. Oop, there's Connecticut. Connecticut, Virginia Charter, 1606. Council for New England, 1620. Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, 1638-39. There you go. Commission to Andros, 1680. Fundamental Agreement, Original Constitution of the Colony of New Haven, June 4th, 1639. Governor of New Haven Colony, 1643. Charter of Connecticut, 1662. Constitution of Connecticut, 1818. That's kind of weird. Wonder why Connecticut didn't have... 1639, 1643. Where's their 1776 era Constitution? And has the Constitution for Connecticut never changed since 1818? I mean, we have all these other ones like Delaware, 1776, 1792, 1831, 1893. So what the heck happened with Connecticut? Huh. What do you think, Brother Rob? What do you think of that? That Connecticut Constitution has never, according to this documented documents, never been amended or anything since 1818, huh? And again, Where's the 1776 era Constitution for Connecticut? Very interesting. Wonder wonder what the current constitution for Connecticut is, date wise. Let's see. (1818) and the Constitution of 1965. Hey, Connecticut, where's your frickin' website? Oh, maybe Connecticut General Assembly. Constitution of 1818. Huh. Interesting. Have they never... No, see, they've made some amendments to it. 1905. Interesting. Well, anyways, Connecticut seems to be a weird... Oh, see, they do have all these new adoptions and altered by amendments of 1875, 1886, 1855. So why isn't it showing these other altered constitutions like we have down here, like Delaware and everybody else? They just straight up kept the original 1818 Constitution. Very interesting. But, you know, I hope I piqued some people's interest. You know, I mean, there's a lot to read and study. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You can read and study to your heart's desire, you know. So, again, back to, you know, the people. The people need to reassemble. And this is where we're working on it. We're trying to bring the people together, bring unity, and reassemble. The very, very top left-hand corner here, conference call info every Thursday night. Right? I could read that for weeks, for probably a year, with as much that's in those 7 volumes to read from. But here's what we're doing. We're trying to bring the people together, and we're trying to do education on our Thursday night conference calls. This is where you go to get that information. If you download and install the free conference call app, here's a tutorial for your smartphones. It's on YouTube or on your desktop. Okay, and then the link is down here. That is actually the link right there. That's what you click on to join the National Assembly call. And again, highly recommend downloading and installing yeah, I mean, just like everything else, you have to create an account. Just a simple, quick email essentially is all you really need to set up a free conference call app on your phone or desktop. I have it on both. I have it both on my phone and on my desktop. So, this is where we're at on Thursday nights. We're trying to bring the people together in all of the states. We need, 38 states to reassemble government de jure to take back control. Yeah. But yeah, so this is where we're at, folks. And then yeah, Jason from his Hardline links to some of his stuff on here. I need to get with him. We talked about his schedule changed a little bit, so we may be doing some Friday night stuff when he's available and I'm available and feel up to it. Of course, there's the again, I want to push people over here to the National Assembly forums, and to get in here, scroll down, go to the 50 nation states right here, and go into your state stuff. Figure your state. You got introductions, then you got general chat, and then you got your historical documents. Okay, so there's all that right here for you, just waiting for you to be a part of it. Okay, but the key is to get on the calls. And if you're wanting to look for a coordinator or moderator or whatever, contact us. Hit the email. That's contentmanager1@yahoo.com. So there is that. You need to get in contact. Now, Thursday nights, and that's 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. It goes for 2 hours. Okay? And then for me, send you over to kirkslawcorner.com here. All of the stuff on here is social media, X, Rumble, YouTube, Patreon, Telegram, and Facebook. I don't know if that's been updated yet. Right here, you can click on that to join for the Wednesday night workshop. If you need one-on-one help, that's tier 4. Okay. And anybody who would like to help donate, support, send that over to me at the office here, 6477 West Fairview Avenue, Suite G, Boise, Idaho, 83704. And of course, a shout out to Miles, who runs my website here and put this all together. Right here, website by Miles at davina.website. Okay. Give a shout out to Miles there. Thank you, brother. I still haven't done anything with the email list, just so everybody knows. And nothing's been sent out yet. Haven't had a chance to return back to that, where I was at and doing all that. So, yeah. Any other, if you want to do a monthly donation, that's through Patreon, or you want to send it through the snail mail, that's fine too. Thank everybody who has subscribed over there on Patreon. Wednesday night workshop, that's tier 3. Wednesday nights we do little education discussion in the private over there. And then again, if you're looking for individual help with whatever you got there going on, that is tier 4 for one-on-ones with me. Okay? Highly recommend going over here under the library tab and downloading some of these books that I have on here. I already done a lot of the research to get you some of the basic stuff, especially the Treatise on Arrest and False Imprisonment, folks. I'm telling you, it is just holy smokes. Even where I was at when I found the Treatise on Arrest and False Imprisonment, I was still blown away with that book. Thank you, Charles Wiseman, for doing these books. The Authority of Law, that's a really good one when you're talking about legislation and how they're supposed to make legislation and how things are actually supposed to be a legitimate statute, not a code. But how you can tell what the difference is. Okay? So, hope everybody enjoyed tonight. And, oh yeah, I want to remind people about the free educational series on YouTube. That's right here is the very first one. You can click on this down here. It says watch on YouTube. And it should take you through them all. If not, go directly to my channel once you get there and look for the playlist. Now, there's actually 3 more videos that I added to the 8. So there's actually 11 videos in that series. So, free educational series. Been out now, what, 5 years plus? Trying to educate my fellow man. Doing what I can. Okay? So God bless. Thank you all for being here. Please get on the National Assembly calls. Get connected. Let's start talking about this more. We need to reassemble the people. All political power is inherent in the people, not American state national. That's a fraud. That's a scheme, scam, and a fraud. I'm sorry if you got sucked into that stuff. But everywhere I've just read from tonight, nowhere does it say national. It says people, inhabitants, real law, proper diction, jurisdiction. So with that, I leave you to your own senses over there, and hopefully we can get this done. We're going to be under martial law and a major shit show until we the people take back our power, right? That's our form of government, of the people, by the people, for the people. We have to have the people. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no other way around it. That's just how our form of government was created and how it works. Who has what power? The people. All of it. So, until we do that, we're stuck with what we get. I, for one, am tired of this corruption, this despotism, this blatant subversion of law, of our rights, trampling all over our rights. I am sick of it. All right? Let's do something about it, people.